Make the ground shake.
Yo, what is going on, guys? Today we have another Madden 17 prediction video. Today we're doing the NFC North team rating predictions, and if you're new to the channel, go ahead and check out some of my other predictions we've made about player ratings. We're going to do some more team ratings here the next coming weeks about other team divisions, so go ahead and click the sub button if you're interested in seeing stuff like that. If not, that's fine too. As always though, be sure to click the nice like button if you like what you're seeing. But first of all, first thing I wanted to bring out here today is we're going over team overalls from a Madden standpoint, not from real life. I'm bringing this out today because we're going over some of these teams. People might be questioning some of the overalls, but you have to think of good records don't always mean good overalls in Madden. For example, the New York Jets. There was an 10-6 team last year. Madden game was 76 overall. So you have to realize, like, teams can still have good product and not have the greatest overall team from an overall standpoint. Like, you can put together a really well-rounded team without these 695 overalls on your team, 6 elite players, for example, on your team. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. As always, we're going to try to do my best to go over every team's overall to get it as close as possible to what Madden might be doing. First off, we got here is the Chicago Bears. They are a 6-10 team. We're going to give them a 75 overall. And where do I start? They was 20th in scoring defense, 23rd in scoring offense. They need a lot of help everywhere. But defense was definitely a problem. They used to be this big defensive powerhouse, and they've really lost that in the past, few years. They've become more of an offensive team. This year, they're trying to fix that, though. They did take 5 of their first 6 draft picks were for defensive players. Now, they lost Martellus Bennett, they lost Matt Forte, both big overall guys. They're going to lose, that will downgrade. Of course, they got Zach Miller and they got Jeremy Langford, both 2 really young, promising guys to replace both of them guys. But of course, Madden's not going to give them a 90 overall like they did Forte and Bennett, maybe a lower 80s, mid 80s range. So that's, a big hit on your overall when you're dropping 2 high overalls for a couple lower ones. But like I said, they're going to be great players. As for the Bears defense, like I said, they don't really have any dominant pass rushers. They're weak in a secondary. They got young guys like Kyle Fuller, hopefully to look forward to if he starts playing a lot better and lives up to that potential. But right now, like I said, nothing too promising. That's why we're going to give them a 75 overall, as they have been a very, weak-rounded team lately. But they are working to fix that, so we'll see if they can improve that overall throughout the season. Coming in at number 3, I guess if you want to call it a top 4 list, but it's the 79 overall 7-9 Detroit Lions. Now, the Lions really did underperform last year. They wanted to do a lot better than they did. They finished 23rd in the league in scoring defense. They was last in the league in rushing yards. That's, run game struggles. It's not helping out the pass game any. Of course, the pass game usually needs to help out the run game, but they did, lose Calvin Johnson, so that's definitely not going to help out the pass game. Let's be honest. Maybe Amir Abdullah can, start to bring it around for them and help out that rushing attack. But right now, their run game really did struggle. They did finish 7-9, but, their offense was not the bright spot, of course. They did have guys on defense like Ezekiel Ansah, who had 14.5 sacks last year. Now, they did also miss DeAndre Levy all season. That is a big loss for them. A guy like DeAndre Levy, he is a big main cog of that defense. So hopefully coming back, that'll help their defense out. So we won't, penalize them too much defensively for that. Guys like Glover Quinn, Haloti Ngata also could have been better last year. Didn't have their greatest potential of seasons. But of course, like I said, their defense has a chance to be a lot better. So hopefully we'll see that. But coming in here at number 2 on the list is the Minnesota Vikings. We're giving them an 83 overall. And this is where my point early in the video comes in about talking about teams that had great seasons and we're giving them not the most phenomenal overall. There's 12-4, 83 overall. They was 5th in the league in scoring defense. Give them their credit. They played great defensively, but they was 31st in the league in pass yards. This is a very pass-happy league we're in nowadays. And Bridgewater is still growing. He hasn't been terrible, but he's definitely still in the growing phases of his career. He had 14 TDs, 9 INTs last season. Not the greatest of ratios. So if your offense, your quarterback is a big deal, especially in Madden. You want to get overall. Most teams' good overalls have great quarterbacks. Bridgewater's still working on it. Don't get me wrong. They got a lot of young talent on that team. Guys like Eric Kendricks, Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs could really become one of them really good wide receivers if they can start to get it going. He's definitely showed some talent on that team. They also got some guys on defense, that can help keep that overall up, like Everson Griffin. He had 10.5 sacks last year. But as for that, though, that kind of, the elite potential is there, but at the same time, you don't look at their team and say they got 1, 2, 3. I mean, there's Adrian Peterson, of course, don't forget that. But there's, you don't look at their team and say all these elite guys that are going to make their team overall outstanding. They really just had a really well put together team that played great together, but at the same time, they don't have, as many flashy players that are going to make that team a higher overall. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. And we're going to go ahead here and move on to number 1. Number 1 being the Green Bay Packers. 10-6 last year. We're only going to give them an 87 overall. It's really tough to sit here and try to come up with a reason to give the Packers a 90 overall like they had last year. They was 12th in scoring defense, 15th in scoring offense last year. So middle of the pack there, But Rodgers really struggled. If you watched him play last year, you had to notice he wasn't the same person. First of all, I've always been one to say your quarterback doesn't get protected. They're not near as good as everybody makes them look out to be. They get hit and they struggle. And that's what Rodgers did last year. He was getting hit a lot. He struggled. Not to mention his receivers weren't helping him in the fact that there was a lot of drop passes. But at the same time, when they weren't dropping passes, he was missing guys that were open down the field quite often. Very un-Rodgers-like. So I'd say he really definitely doesn't deserve a 99 overall at quarterback like he did last year. Hopefully, that's for one. Randall Cobb, another guy, overall might drop a little bit because he was struggling himself. Had a lot of drop passes, like I was saying, about guys with drop passes. But they do have the return of Jordy Nelson this year, so that can be a big help. Jordy Nelson can definitely make people around him a lot better players. So we'll see how that goes with him. Eddie Lacy, another problem. Still hasn't convinced me that he's this elite running back. Of course, he went to Alabama, so that's not helping his case of convincing me. But he showed greatness throughout the year. Don't get me wrong. Those times he had flashes, he was like, yeah, this guy could be a stud. But there was a lot of times, too, where he didn't look like anything. He was out there getting 2-yard, 3-yard carries yards per game, averaged, after these bright spots. He'd have a bright spot, and he'd cool right back off. So it's definitely, he's a really big question mark. But he's got the potential, but he just hasn't proved it yet, I don't think. Finally, though, we're going to go down to defense. Got Clay Matthews. They got Julius Peppers, had 10 sacks last year. But, other than that, the Packers aren't this big defensive powerhouse. They've never really been known as being a defensive powerhouse. So, once again, that's not going to help their overall go up on defense. I think that's one of the other reasons why you see them stay lower around the 86, 87 overall range instead of the 90 range. Because they don't have a huge powerhouse of a defense to help boost them up. And because Rodgers did struggle a little bit more and their running game struggled a little bit more, I think, the offense can't carry them up to that 90 overall because you're going to see them linemen should also go down in overall a little bit because they could not protect the quarterback. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys and you guys like the video. As always, I love to hear what you guys have to say about teams, what you guys think your overall should be. And as for the next prediction video, still haven't decided on what division we should do next, so go ahead, drop a comment below on what division you want to see next. Of course, we already did the AFC North, we did the NFC North, so that leaves the other 6 divisions for next week. Like I said, drop a comment below what division you want to see. I'll try to get that one out next week, the most wanted one, of course. And as always, guys, I hope you liked the video, and thank you for watching.